Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us as we get ever closer to March Town Meeting Day coming up on Tuesday, March 1st. And we're continuing with another one of our pre-town meeting programs. We're going to be interviewing two of the candidates in St. Albans City for at least the second straight year. We've got a contested city council race. Last year, an incumbent was unseated. That will not happen this year because the incumbent in question in Ward 2, Jim Pelkey, veteran council member, is not running again. Two candidates are hoping to grab his seat, three-year term. Jamie Pinkham, am I right? Jamie, good to see you.
Hi.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
And Newell Decker. Two candidates. I should also note the Ward 1 seat is up as well. Tim Hawkins, the incumbent, running unopposed, and also St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith running unopposed for a third two-year term. Jamie, tell us about yourself. Give us some background and how did you happen to jump into this race?
Sure, yeah, thank you, and thank you very much for having me tonight.
Thanks for coming.
I've lived in St. Albans for 15 years, and the entire time I have lived in Ward 2, and have really been grateful for the leadership that Jim has provided to our ward over the past few years. So when I learned that he was not planning to run again, I really felt like it was an opportunity for me to get involved, provide some more public service, provide some service particularly to our ward, which I think is a fantastic place to live. My husband and I have chosen to raise our children there. We love our neighborhood, we love our community, and I've also been really amazed and astounded at the growth that St. Albans has had in the 15 years that we've lived here, and really want to see that growth continue to occur. But at the same time being mindful of making sure that Ward 2's voice is heard, and that that growth is sustainable over the long term, and that we really continue to make the city a welcoming and safe place for all, and a multicultural and economic hub for Franklin County and for our region. We're a stopping point between Montreal and Burlington, and we should really be a destination of choice for folks, and that's all part of the reason why I've wanted to run and have that opportunity to lead that charge.
And hopefully the border issue will come back to normal. I feel like Montreal might as well be in Europe now.
I know.
Hopefully that'll come back together.
Yeah.
And have you had some involvement? Any organizations you've been involved with the city, Jamie?
Yeah. So for years prior to this, I worked actually pretty closely and have been here before for the Franklin County Relay for Life. So have really worked to raise awareness to cancer prevention, cancer treatment, and have been on the leadership team for that event throughout the years. And then recently in city leadership and city politics, I've been on the Parks Commission, and most recently the Police Advisory Board, which was the new board formed and really aligned with the vision I've already spoken about related to making sure that St. Albans is safe for all and transparent leadership and government for everybody, and have had a great experience working closely with our chief of police and our city leadership and the community to help move that vision forward to continue to help us grow in a positive way.
Right. Newell, you're certainly no stranger to a lot of folks, but for the maybe few people out there who don't know you, tell us about it. Give us some background, and how'd you happen to maybe get a little closer to that mic too? Newell, just kind of sit so that mic's closer to you a little bit.
Okay.
There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah, that should be
Okay.
good.
I've been in the city since August of 1984.
And again, you told me you served on the Georgia Select Board
on the
back in the
Georgia
70s.
Town Select Board from 1977 to 1979. Technically raised in the town of Georgia and came here in 84. Been involved with the museum and things, and I enjoy the place, but a lot of things I'd like to help out the senior citizens on tax-wise, that they don't set a rate, and then that way they, if you're on a fixed income, I know about that. And with taxes, that's one of the biggest things. But really, the city, I enjoy the place. I know a lot of people, and so that's the thing. And even I been involved with when they had the reenactment of the St. Albans raid. I was in with that and stuff. But I do volunteer at the museum, And I go to the railroad station to see people, and I tell them, come up in the summer, come to the museum, come and see St. Albans, and give them the history.
Well, you mentioned railroad. I got to ask you, and I hope, Jamie, if you're elected, you would work towards this too. Any hope in my lifetime
Well,
rule about seeing the Amtrak Vermont
back to
getting back to
Montreal.
Montreal?
Montreal. What I
Just
hear.
just give me a
Okay.
short answer on that.
Okay, short answer on that. I hear that they have funds, but the holdup is between Customs and Central Station, and that goes for the Adirondack too. Same thing. So that's.
We'll stay
We
tuned.
hope we see it again.
Stay tuned on that. Yeah, my feeling.
And if it does,
exactly.
back on nights, the Montrealer.
Yeah. There are 5 articles before St. Albans city voters. The budget up to a little over $10 million. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the warning, but anything you're opposed to or any comments on any of the...
I haven't seen it. What's on the agenda?
Talking about a $10 million budget that's up for a vote. Also, voters being asked to approve an additional, or being asked to approve $100,000 to fund an additional Northwest Counseling and Support Service Crisis Intervention Specialist
Yeah.
for the police department. Also, city voters will be asked to approve $25,000 in funding for the St. Albans Museum. And also, any comments on that? Have you got
Well, I knew that was coming up because it's both the town and the city
right,
on the museum.
town's looking to, being asked to spend another, authorize another 10,000.
The thing is, that's history of the city.
Yeah.
I mean, of the area. And the biggest thing is the St. Albans raid. Anybody comes up, that's one of the things they come up and see. And they've done an excellent job with the museum.
Yeah.
I volunteer. I'm on the spare board. I can't tell them, but I volunteer there, and it's. I would say it's worth its money for that.
Yeah. Jamie, again, the articles on the warning, you support everything?
Yeah.
And I'll get into the charter amendment separately.
Sure.
But the budget, we're up to about a $10 million budget. I guess
Yeah.
that would be a second crisis intervention. Well, you know a lot more about that than I do.
Yeah.
But you happy
and-
with that article?
I am, and I think actually my understanding is that the overall increase is pretty minimal in
Okay.
terms of what we're actually going to get for
Is there
that
some
money.
outside funding for that, perhaps, or?
I think the idea is to have it baked into to the budget so
Into the
that it's
budget.
sustainable, right?
Okay.
There's always that danger when you look at grant-funded positions or you try to work
No,
through.
I guess it's city. I guess
Yeah.
it's local funding, obviously.
And we really, I was there when we had the discussion about the museum, and everybody in the room was in agreement that that's such an important jewel and an important part of our community that we want to, of course, be able to fund. But then, when you talk about the crisis clinician, it's hard to recognize that. But when you talk in general about wanting to continue to make our city a safe place, safe for all, and you want to talk about making sure that we're that benefits everybody. The long run is that these crisis counselors do amazing work to sustain people so that they don't find themselves on the other side of an unfortunate law enforcement encounter, that they're not necessarily in an unsafe situation for themselves or others around them. So that money really would go a long way and would have a long view, if you take a long view at how we want our city to grow, of really keeping everybody safe. So it's money well spent for both the crisis clinician and for the museum, both of which are, one is looking back and making sure we celebrate our history, one is looking forward to how we continue to keep our community safe and allow it to grow safely.
How, again, on the Police Advisory Commission, you
Yeah.
comfortable with how the police department's doing these days?
Yeah, I think there's always opportunity, and I think nationally it's important that every police department should take the same critical look that ours has. I'm really proud of the work of our city leadership and their response to the things that we've asked them to do in terms of transparency, in terms of hiring practices, in terms of policy and procedure, data that they're sharing, and this crisis clinician to really understand that our goal is to help people feel that they can trust our police department again, and understanding that there's work to be done. And I think that our new police chief has done a fantastic job of starting to build that bridge. Still work to be done, always work to be done, but I think we're moving in the right direction.
Were you sorry that the city lost the contract for St. Albans Town, which it had had for about a decade or so?
I think I'm sad for the town because Mo has been so Chief Lamoth has been so fabulous to work with. But in many ways, I think it gave the city an opportunity to really work on our group, work on our community, and hear our community, listen and respond to our community. And I know that we're not perfect, but it's given that opportunity for them to really focus their resources and help our city to grow and be safe and build those bridges.
Yeah. Newell, any thoughts on the police department? To your
No, I don't
outside
have-
observer,
I
you think
don't
the
have any-
PD's doing okay?
I don't have any grief, but this issue, what you just come up, this is somebody gets arrested, does the social worker come in afterwards, does it?
Yeah, I mean, this
I mean,
person.
yeah,
Yeah, and I don't want to get too far out over my skis because I'm not the expert, but was part of, we made the recommendation from the Police Advisory Board to City Council to move forward with this. Really, it's to also intervene when possible before an arrest happens. So
Yeah,
if we
okay.
can get somebody piped into the help that they need to avoid arrest, that's a goal. But then certainly if someone is arrested or there's an impact on people around them, they can get piped into this crisis clinician can be that connection to
and
help
that's a
them get the
mental
resources they
problem,
need.
correct? You have people with that, or is it with the issue of drugs and stuff like this?
I think all of the above. I think
Okay.
anything that fits into that behavioral health, mental health, crisis support category.
Yeah,
We just know that there's such a need for it in our state, in our nation. And this is an opportunity for our community to support those
Okay.
needs, regardless of what they are. These clinicians are trained to help manage those situations and really get those folks into sustainable supports.
And this would be the second such person with the
Yeah.
department, correct?
Yeah, because one person can't be there 24/7, and she does a fantastic job, and I am really in awe of her and the work she does. And the second person would allow there to be more coverage, allow there to be better supports, and it also really supports the police officers and their work, so that we're not asking them to be,
right.
teachers, lawyers, crisis clinicians, substance abuse disorder support folks. I mean, they're really there to keep us safe and try to prevent crime, and this allows them to do that
Right.
Safely for themselves as well.
A key,
I was gonna mention to you, I did work at the courthouse.
Okay.
I was with the state for 35 and a half years, and I was telling somebody that when I first started juvenile cases, you might have one every 6 months, maybe a year. When I left in 2009, it was every day,
Yeah.
every day. And I mean, and with the mental situation and the drug situation, it is a good idea to have this, to be talking to them
Mm-hmm.
and help out on that.
another, I think a very important issue, Newell, that's also on the warning, city voters being asked to, if they would amend the charter, the city charter, to allow the city council to appoint a city clerk, which of course is now an elected position.
Yes,
Again, that's, and again, obviously the city council hoping to get a yes on that. No candidates running. Curry Galloway's term is almost up.
yeah.
Not running again, so in fact, nobody's running. I think that's been a bit of a trend, but again, that's a big change. It would go to the legislature, city council hoping voters will approve it, and that the legislature will approve it, and then I guess the city would have the authority come July 1st to appoint a city clerk. But is that something, I'm not sure
I
you've
would,
thought about that?
I would kind of disagree, because I think they should be elected.
Okay, another, but the way it is now, that person has to be a city resident. Again, any concern that there just might not, I don't mean to speak for the council, but I think their concern is they wouldn't get any candidates or wouldn't get anyone who's qualified enough.
That's
but-
probably true on
but-
that, yeah.
But again,
But
you're
I
not-
would I think it would be fair to have an election. That would be just like us people here, be appointed.
Well, that's the
you
way it's
know.
been. Jamie, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, and I think thankfully I had the opportunity to be present at this meeting when this was discussed, and in my current work at the hospital, I've had the opportunity to work with the city clerks over the years. And I can absolutely see both sides of the argument.
Yeah.
This is one of those situations, though, where the skill set needed to do this work and the important work that they play for everybody in our community, for businesses, for attorneys to do the work that they need to do is so critical that having someone with the skill set, I think at this point, in my mind, actually does trump having an elected official there. I appreciate the checks and balances that come with having an elected official, but I think the work that needs to get done and the impact when it doesn't get done correctly or by someone who has the skill set to do all of that work, it can have a catastrophic outcome. But, you know, part of the discussion that we had there was, is it important for this person as a condition of working there to be a city resident? And how do we continue to have those checks and balances? But I do believe that given, you know, the current climate and the way that we're moving, you know, politically and just job shortages in general across the region and across the country, having someone appointed with the right skill set, like a job interview, is probably more important to keeping city operations running with minimal impact to individual taxpayers and users by having an appointed official.
And again, with that charter change, the city clerk would not have to be a city resident.
The other thing is, what they could do is appoint a person, then have election afterwards.
Yeah, well, that's not
going to be feasible.
It's not the
If
proposal
you
before
do,
voters.
I mean, the thing is with that is you don't have a choice. This is the thing. If you don't elect a person, they're appointed, it's probably for life.
Well, I guess your choice is the people you elect to make that decision, I guess. Would
Yeah.
Be but I hear you.
Even over the years, I mean, I've seen people elected, they're there for the longest time too. I can see your point of view. But the thing is, I always say it should be elected person.
Newell City, another subject, city-town relations. We could go on for quite a ways about that, but
Yeah, we could go
relations
for
seem
days.
a bit frayed at this point. But how do you see the state of St. Albans city-town relations right now? Are they where they should be? Would you like to see them?
I've been
Better?
asking the question for years. What was the big thing? The big
Wastewater, of course,
what's
has
the
been the
war,
big sticking
the
point.
war between it, not a war, but the division between them. I mean, it would be good if we united to a point, but I don't know.
Would you like to
the
see the communities merge? Would you like to see a merger?
It probably would be a good idea in one way, but I don't know
I don't
what
think you have to hold. Don't hold your breath for that.
don't hold your breath too much. But the thing is, in the city, we've got to bring business in to pay the taxes. We got to bring something in because, I mean, you know, it's like the state of Vermont. They don't let nothing in. And then they wonder why the young people are leaving. This is the situation, you know? And that's one of the things I'd like to go for is find out what we can do to bring stuff in to keep the young people here. See, I ran for representative in 2010. That was one of the things I mentioned. Common sense and jobs. We got to have it. I mean, you know?
Jamie, city-town relations, again, a subject we could talk hours on, but
Yeah.
2 days at
Right,
most, or maybe
right.
a year.
what do you think? The wastewater issue, of course, has been the main sticking point for forever.
Yeah. I mean, I feel pretty strongly that the city has done a ton of amazing work. And I think, you know, to your point, Newell, we're bringing in businesses and we're building our downtown, and we've put the investment into the infrastructure.
Yeah.
I don't think it's unreasonable, whether we were to become a joined community or not, that everybody should pay if they're going to use those systems, whether it's our rec program, whether it's the city, the water. I know the water and sewer has been ongoing since long before I arrived here, but whatever that infrastructure is that folks are going to benefit from, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask that everybody pay the fair share into that, so that the city is not necessarily carrying the load for a benefit that the town could use for free. That same token, though, I think we are one community and can figure out how to build those partnerships to, you know, make it less contentious over time. But equal pay seems a reasonable approach when we're talking about some of these infrastructures that the city has put itself out there to invest in, to bring businesses in, to figure out how to pay for these things for our children, for our community. If other communities want to be part of that, I think they would be welcome, but it comes at a cost.
I guess there's a vote in Georgia, they're recreation related, whether I guess they want to hook up into St. Albans City rec programs. But anyway, Newell, maybe you touched on it. Biggest issue, biggest challenge for St. Albans City, and maybe you touched on it. You mentioned you'd love to see more businesses, but
Yeah, I would like to see, you know.
Of course, it seems like every
Like we
community's
had to
after
fund
the
a
same thing.
container one time, and that's gone. It's too bad. And we do have railroad property. It probably could be used to put a factory or something in. I was told, this is a story I heard when I was in high school, that the Ford Motor Company wanted to come and have a transmission factory here.
I'm sorry, what company?
Ford.
Ford?
And the town fathers at the time says, oh, we don't need that, we got the railroad. Yeah, but the diesel locomotive was coming.
Interesting.
And that's when a lot of the things went downhill pretty fast after that.
Yeah. Jamie, biggest issue, biggest challenge as you see for St. Albans City?
Yeah, I think it's very similar, continuing the economic growth. But I think we've done some amazing things, and there's more growth coming. And I think the city leadership has really focused on bringing those businesses in that will draw tourists, that will draw folks to come here as a destination, and really leverage the lot tax to help, because I know you shared your
local option tax.
Yeah, the local option tax to kind of leverage those concerns that I do know folks on a fixed income, and that concern is very real, particularly I think in Ward 2 as we look at that. At the same time, we want to make sure that we're drawing young people, new families to all of the things that we have to offer in our community. So the biggest challenge I think we have right now is how do we continue that growth? And how do we continue to make it a welcoming community so that we're drawing diverse voices to our community, that all are feeling welcome. And that's a real challenge I think our state faces. And I think St. Albans has taken some great steps forward, and the challenge will be to continue that forward momentum so that we have sustainable businesses in the long run. I think we've got a great industrial park. I know that's in the town, but our community has the benefit of the industrial park.
Correct.
We have the railroad. We've got now some really great city businesses coming. Hangry the Donut Bar, which is amazing donuts, is coming to downtown. Nourish, which has become a cliche market and really is popular across the state, is moving into a Main Street space. And then we also have bootlegger bikes coming, and that
Well, that sounds like a great addition to the city.
great addition,
Yeah.
and it aligns with the recreation opportunity that we have with connecting the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail with the
Yeah,
with
good point.
the rail, really connecting all of that bike trail so people can come here to visit, to play, to eat, to have a great time, spend their money, and we would benefit from those taxes,
Right.
and that's so important.
Mentioned the local option tax, which of course is funding the community swimming pool.
Yeah.
Was that a measure you supported?
Absolutely. So full transparency, my daughter is a competitive swimmer. She swims
Really?
year round.
Wow.
And I just know the benefit that pool program had for her as an individual, but also for our family, for the community in general, the accessibility of having that kind of recreation that really all people can benefit from, all ages, all genders, having it now be in the beautiful setting of Hardack, which is just a gem in our community, and having the city rec program really have oversight over that space. I've seen tremendous things starting to happen there, and still more work to do. Obviously there's always ways you can improve, but to me, I know that pool was a hot debate, particularly in the town, but
Yeah.
it's going to be such a benefit. I just don't think people realize how many folks will come here to use it, and the amount of economic growth that we'll have related to that pool.
We'll see, of course, that was a big issue in St. Albans City a year ago, the vote on the pool. Neil,
Yeah.
did you support that or not?
I got a question. What are they gonna do with the pool they have over my way?
I think they're still figuring that out, but it's certainly its life as a pool. I think the city got its money's worth out of that
Yeah.
place.
Over the
I think the
years.
city's still
Are they
figuring that
gonna
out.
close it down and everything like that?
And my understanding is the school owns that property, so
Oh,
I
they
think
do.
that's probably, it's a great question, I think, for city council to address, but I do know that I think that property reverts back to the Maple Run
Yeah.
And
school
I'm hearing
district.
that the building might be useful just for bathrooms if there's an event on, an
Yeah,
athletic
that's true.
event.
Yeah,
That's true.
But back to the community swimming pool, is that something you supported or not?
Well,
It came up for a vote, that was a
I
big
came up
issue
for
a
a
year
vote. I
ago.
can't remember if I voted for it or not, I do have a good memory. But the thing is, it's good to keep the kids, keep them busy, something to do. And that's the way I look at that. That's good. It's good to have something to keep the young people active.
How do you think the city's fared with the pandemic? Any thoughts on that? Boy, tough, we're almost 2 years into this now.
yeah, tough for our state in general, and we're experiencing the surge here. Other states have come out of it. I think we fared pretty well as a community. I think we pulled together in tremendous amount of ways, supporting our restaurants by doing takeout. I mean, people
Yeah.
were doing takeout all the time just to see their favorite restaurants stay open. I think on the whole, I've seen people primarily being respectful around mask mandates and really, trying to observe social distancing. It's getting harder as time goes on, but I'm also really hopeful that we're moving to an endemic, and that really speaks to us as a community being able to respect each other as we move forward and respect, our values while keeping each other safe. I felt that in general as a community, and hope that as we move to an endemic, we'll continue to see where we don't need to maybe have those as many mandates as we have in place now, but we'll continue to see that respect for each other and our businesses continue.
Noel,
to
how do you
grow.
think, how do you think the city's fared with the pandemic?
Oh, I think they've done very well,
Yeah.
very well. I respect when they say wear a mask, I wear it. But I go back to 1918, 1919, what did they do then? Nothing. They didn't know what caused it and things like this. Yeah, but I do respect it.
Yeah. I asked Jamie, I don't think I asked you, when the city lost the contract for St. Albans Town coverage, were you disappointed they lost that contract or not? Did you have any
Well,
reaction to that?
Well, they probably would have been money for us. Now, do they take care of Highgate now too?
The
do they?
city does take care of
Highgate,
Highgate,
yeah.
second, just
Yeah.
got another year contract, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I understand town of Georgia, Milton takes care of them.
Milton gives, the
Yeah.
town of Georgia and the sheriff's department had a
Yeah.
dispute there over a contract. Yeah, Milton gives Georgia some coverage.
When I was a kid, you only had state police and the sheriff's department. That was it.
Interesting. The move, the city police department's moved to the old CCV quarters on
Yeah.
South Main. That's gone pretty well, apparently.
Yes, and it's a beautiful,
Yeah.
as far superior to their previous
City,
setting.
I guess city fire department should be so lucky maybe. That's certainly
Yeah.
not a great building for city FD.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of just the operations, from what I understand from my work on the advisory board, the operations of a police department are much better managed in this new setting, and we had the opportunity to get a tour of it, and it really is a tremendous spot, and I think our community benefits from having them there and in this type of building where they can really be successful
Yeah.
in the work that they do with their holding cells, with the transparency, some of the things that we've talked about, accessibility, all of that is really part of their new building.
Down to about 2 minutes. Newell, I'll let you, in a minute or less, make your case. Why are you a good person to be elected Ward 2 City
Well,
Council?
I've been in the city since 1984. I've watched the politics in the city, and maybe I can help out. I'll do the best I can. You don't promise anything, but you do the best you can.
Again, Jamie, make your case in about a minute or so.
Okay. Well, like I said before, I've lived here long enough now that I feel like I've got a good perspective on the city, and I'm also raising my family here. I'm working in this community. I appreciate the challenges that folks face, and I really am committed to being transparent and focusing on that sustainable economic growth for everybody, but most importantly, making sure that Ward 2 has a voice at City Council, that their point of views are being heard, and that I am accessible for those folks. And I think I am the person that can offer all of that.
Okay, that's going to just about do it. And again, the two candidates, certainly big shoes to fill for whoever wins the seat. Jim Pelkey, certainly just all kinds of institutional knowledge as a longtime public servant. But again, two candidates. Nice that you folks giving voters a choice. Again, Jamie Pinkham and Newell Decker, candidates for Ward 2 City Council. Tim Hawkins in Ward 1 running unopposed for re-election, and St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith running unopposed for a third two-year term. And again, Marchtown meeting day gets ever closer, coming up on Tuesday, March 1st. For the record, we're taping this show on Wednesday, February 9th. But I appreciate the candidates coming out. Many thanks to producer Alan Cunningham, who does all the hard work around here. But again, and I should note, we will have some coverage on Town Meeting We'll have some coverage on Town Meeting Night of what's going on Town Meeting Day. Thanks for watching us on Northwest Access TV. I'm Richard Cowperthwait.